Does magic actually work?
A guide for the digital skeptic.
As we enter the era of high-level artificial intelligence, the question of magic is no longer a relic of the past. It is becoming an essential tool for the future.
The most significant thing that AI will trigger is a reckoning of who and what we are. For centuries, we identified ourselves with the products of our labor. Now, AI can do almost everything better than we can. So, what remains for us?
If machines have stripped away our productivity, all that remains is our intent. Sigilon is an interface for directing that intent. Here is how magic actually functions through the lens of science, psychology, and speculative physics.
Neurobiological anchoring.
In neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, we use a concept called anchoring. When you create a sigil, a unique geometric form that carries your specific affirmation at its core, you are creating a visual anchor.
Every time your eye grazes this symbol, it triggers a specific neural pathway associated with your goal, e.g., health, clarity, or success. This isn't mysticism, it is attentional optimization. Your Reticular Activating System, RAS, begins to prioritize information in your environment that aligns with that goal, filtering out the noise and highlighting opportunities you previously missed.
The Placebo Effect. A digital pill without the chemistry.
Scientific studies on open-label placebos prove that the placebo effect works even when patients know they are taking a sugar pill. The body responds to the ritual and the intent, not the chemical compound. Sigilon acts as a visual placebo. By imbuing a symbol with meaning, you bypass the analytical mind and trigger biological responses within your own system. The symbol becomes the UI, user interface, through which your mind communicates with your biology.
Quantum reality and the observer effect.
In quantum mechanics, the double-slit experiment famously demonstrated that the act of observation influences the behavior of particles. If consciousness has an impact at the quantum level, then intent is a fundamental component of reality. The multiverse, modern string theory, and the many worlds interpretation suggest that we may be navigating different probability lines through the strength of our focus.
Could parallel realities house intelligences or energetic organisms that current science lacks the instruments to measure? While science cannot prove their existence, it cannot disprove them either. Throughout history, sigils have functioned as antennas designed to bridge the gap between these dimensions.
The institutional interest in the unseen.
If magic were merely superstition, intelligence agencies and military-industrial complexes would not have spent decades investigating it. Documents released by the CIA regarding Project Stargate reveal that millions were spent researching remote viewing and the influence of consciousness over matter. The institutional interest in psychotronics suggests that the informational influence of the mind is a tangible domain of power, one that mainstream science often leaves at the door.
Myth as map, not dogma.
Myths are not failed history, they are maps of the psyche. Runic signs and sigils are languages refined over millennia by our ancestors to encode complex psychological processes into simple, potent forms.
Sigilon translates these ancient archetypes, such as the Norse runes, into digital code. It does not demand faith in ancient gods, rather, it empowers you to create your own personal myth. In a world where AI generates our art and writes our poetry, the act of creating your own symbol is an act of rebellion, a reclamation of individual identity.
It works, even if you don't believe in it.
In the Sigilon system, magic is not an escape from reality, it is a technology of consciousness. It is the use of an algorithm to find a focal point for your will within the digital chaos.
Warning: this is not a game.
Critical protocols for the safe deployment of intent.
Notice, you are entering a domain where thought becomes code and code becomes destiny. Before activating your first symbol, you must internalize these protocols. Failure to adhere to these laws does not just result in inefficiency. It triggers unpredictable systemic feedback loops.
The law of the boomerang. Informational reciprocity.
A digital talisman is an energy router. Never use it to broadcast malevolent intent. Magic is not a one-way street, it is a closed circuit. When you inject destructive code, harming another, into the system, that code becomes a permanent part of your own operational architecture. Whatever you transmit into the multiverse returns to its source you with compounded force. Malice is a program that eventually deletes its own author.
The law of precision. The monkey's paw trap.
The universe, like any high-level algorithm, is hyperliteral. If you demand $1 million without defining the ethical parameters, the system may fulfill that request through the insurance payout of a loved one or the total collapse of your own health. Be surgically precise. Every affirmation should include a silent contingency. May this manifest in a way that is safe and harmonious for all involved. Do not let your own lack of clarity become your undoing.
The law of equilibrium. Abundance versus greed.
Greed is an infinite loop with no exit command. If you demand resources you do not actually require, you introduce noise into the system that will eventually block your actual needs. Choose abundance over wealth. Wealth is the accumulation of stagnant data. Abundance is the fluid flow of resources necessary for a creative life. If you ask for more than you can process, you will never reach a success state, as your internal algorithm will be stuck in a permanent cycle of dissatisfaction. To find Sigilon, simply search for Theo Spiller in your favorite browser and head to the official website. From there, select the Sigilon image and click Start Creating. You'll then have access to the full suite of apps to begin crafting your own masterpieces. Don't forget to visit the Sigilon store on Zazzle. There, you can apply your own emblems to an extensive collection of apparel, or browse through Theo Spiller's own designs, with new pieces being added all the time.
Sigilon. Digital totems for the modern nomad.